everybody. Welcome to the Talking Disney podcast. This is the show where we are recapping the Disney canon films and we let the random number generator tell us which of the Disney films we're going to talk about next. And this month, the generator landed on Treasure Planet. So we're finally talking about the big dream movie of Ron Clements and John Musker, and it's going to be super fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hey.
And we have a good friend of mine here with us. I knew that this is one of his favorite films. He's with me on the Hidden Gems podcast every week. And so Ryan Cam is here. And Ryan, thank you for coming on Talking Treasure Planet.
Yes, thank you, Ryan.
It really is a pleasure to be here. You guys, thank you so much for inviting me. I should let everyone know now, I'm currently suffering from round 2 of allergy season. So if I sound really, really weird, that's because I've been muddling through my very bad ragweed allergy through the past weekend and into today. I'm feeling up and about enough to at least talk, so that's a plus. But over the weekend, I was sounding like Christopher Lee or something, which ain't necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, still feeling like a run over frog.
Yeah.
But I'm at least feeling better now. And I mean, I'm talking
You're wishing you were in your own ship in the sky, away from the land.
That's right, away from
yeah, exactly.
Away from all these allergies.
Yeah, 'cause space is a vacuum, and like nothing can survive there. So all the ragweed will just go.
Yes. So Ryan, for people that don't listen to Thin Jumps podcast, which you should every Friday, we have so much fun. But people who don't, why don't you introduce yourself to this audience that might not know you?
All right, gladly. So my name is Ryan Cam. I have a YouTube channel where excuse me, where I review movies and TV shows, among other things. One of my biggest claims to fame is earlier this year I wrapped up a very long-running series on the channel called the AFI Project, where I reviewed every movie on the American Film Institute's top 100 movies of all time list. It was honestly a very eye-opening experience because I had not seen about 75% of the movies on the list. I'd seen a few, but not all of them. So it was quite a journey, and I covered anything and everything from like Citizen Kane to Lawrence of Arabia, which the latter is one of my all-time favorites, to things I had never seen before, like Annie Hall, which I did not like. I was not a fan. And then you had these smaller movies, like stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad of how it turned out. But after that wrapped up, I am now transitioning into the Twilight Zone vlogs, where I'm reviewing each episode of the original Twilight Zone series and talking about it. And along with that, I've been trying to review at least one new release a week, and I've gotten at least a 2 average, so that's pretty good for me, especially during these times. And I've even dipped my toe into reviewing streaming movies, which is something that I thought I would never do personally. But among my favorite movies of the year is something on Hulu. It's Summer of Soul, the movie about the Cultural Festival.
It's so fantastic.
That movie was awesome, and it just it was one of those things where like, what has this footage been doing in a basement for all of this time?
Right?
This should have been like a mini series, like HBO style, like Band of Brothers, that crap. So that was really good. Love A Quiet Place Part 2. That is my favorite so far. Wrath of Man from Guy Ritchie was awesome. I loved The Suicide Squad, Free Guy's in contention as well. And I've got a lot I'm looking forward to. Halloween Kills, Venom 2, which got moved, but hopefully is staying. Dune, which I know Rachel is not exactly jazzed for, but
Rachel's favorite book.
I'm probably going to love, because Denis Villeneuve is my boy. And so, yeah, I'm putting a lot of time into the channel, and I'm almost at 165 subscribers, which is a number that I had no idea was even within my ballpark, because I see most of the reviewers I see are in like the thousands or even the hundreds of thousands, even the millions. Like I see Rachel's subscriber count on her channel, and I'm just like, one day I will get there one day. And so, I'm
Yeah.
just plugging away, and all that.
Well, and I think one of the Disney canon films is in the AFI Top 100. Am I right?
Snow White,
The
It's
Snow
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 White.
White and
White,
Seven
yeah, Snow
Dwarfs,
White,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it was in
So,
the top 20. I know that. I'll have to look at.
there we go.
What a
Yeah,
cool project, Ryan.
yeah,
Thanks
that's
for
awesome.
sharing that. That's on my, I guess let's say, quote unquote bucket list to watch all of those. I think I've
Yeah.
got about 70% that I've watched, so I've got still got work to do. So I would
Yeah, it
definitely
was.
want to check out your stuff, your channel. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll put a link down to that to playlist in the description. People can check it out. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about our experiences first time seeing Treasure Planet. Then we'll talk about sort of the backstory of it getting made because it's very interesting. But was this one that you saw in the theater, Stanford?
Yes, I saw it opening weekend. I saw it in IMAX because that was pretty novel to have,
Mm-hmm.
to have an animated film be released, in IMAX theater on an opening weekend like that. So, uh, and I went with some friends, and I remember this very vividly. I, I think I was the only one of the three who actually kind of liked it. I think everybody else didn't get it, but
Mm-hmm.
or just didn't care for
Yeah.
it. But I remember being really wowed by the visuals. I love the look of it, and just maybe wasn't necessarily 100% sure on the story, but wow, particularly like during the first act, I think I was just in absolute awe, just because the scope, I mean, the size of the screen and the great stereo and the wonderful soundtrack, by James Newton Howard, and yeah, and so anyway, very memorable for me.
What about you, Ryan? When did you first see it?
This well, first of all, this movie has a lot of nostalgia for me because this was one of the first movies that my dad ended up taking me to see. I believe I remember the first three. It was Monsters Inc., it was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and it was Treasure Planet. And that's a pretty dang good killer's row right there.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
And
go.
seriously.
yeah, I remember watching this for the first time at our local. I It became a dollar theater, but it was once a dollar theater, and it is unfortunately no longer with us. It is now an MMA gym. But I remember that theater like it was the back of my hand. I remember where concession stand was. I remember there was six theaters and they were all along one wall. I remember there was arcade machines on both ends of the theater. One of them was like one of those Harley Davidson like rider things it's kind of like those Fast and Furious like games you see in like Dave and Buster's and all, but it was Harley
Mm,
Davidson. It's
mm-hmm.
those little things that I just remember, and this movie made such an impact on me, and it broke my heart when I later learned that it didn't do that great at the box office. But when I was doing some research in preparation for this, I feel like it's gotten a bit of a reevaluation, and people are appreciating it more as the years go on. I may be off base on that, but like say on Letterboxd, for example, it's like 3 stars, 3.5, 4, 4, 4, 4.5. So it's getting pretty good reviews, at least from the people. And I see tribute after tribute after tribute to the movie. So it may not have been received super great initially, but over time I think it's become a classic.
Yeah, so this movie came out when I was a senior in college. That makes me feel extremely old because you're you're talking about it was the first movie I saw in the theaters. I was very busy during this time, and I just wasn't in like a super movie time in my life in 2002. I didn't see it until, oh gosh, I mean, I don't even remember when I first saw it. I don't think I've ever seen it in the theater actually. I think I watched it once when I before the first time I saw it was not when I was doing my first Disney Canon watch, which was in 2014. I'd seen it at least one other time before that. But I think it was just like a random time at home, like watching movies. And I know this is a movie, and we'll talk more about it, that I want to like a lot more than I do. I don't dislike it. I just find it a little slow. It's a little, the pacing, just, me, it's sci-fi. It's struggle. uh,
Rachel, no.
yes. And I find some of the choices they made to be a little distracting. Like, why are they in old ships in the sky? And some different things. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like, how do they stay? What is it about gravity, and what are the rules to this world? And I don't know. I just want to love it because it's obviously very creative and very beautiful, but it's also very predictable. And I feel like the novelty of the world building dies off pretty quick, and then it just becomes kind of your normal Treasure Island type narrative. But it has a lot of positives. It is beautiful. It has great voice acting. It's got heart to it. I like it. I just wish I loved it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
But
totally makes
yeah.
sense.
Um so so this movie, it's really interesting because of course the incredible team, Ron Clements, John Musker, they are legends, literally Disney legends. And this was their baby. They wanted this starting. Why don't you explain, Stanford, what the whole Gong Show thing was?
Well, yeah, the Disney Studio under Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, right? They established this thing similar to the. I don't know if you remember the game. This, I mean, speaking of old, hello. The Gong Show was a game show on TV where, and typically it was like a talent show. You know, it was like America's Got Talent, but they literally had a gong, and somebody would
Right.
go up, and if the act was really bad, they'd pound the gong, and then they'd take them off the stage. Uh, so it was all played for humor and whatnot. But this gong show at Disney was basically you had a finite amount of minutes to pitch a story idea, and it would either advance or quote unquote get gonged, or they'd kill it. So yeah, this was Ron and John's. Wasn't it their first thing that they pitched
Yeah,
at this Gong Show?
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah. It was pitched at the Gong Show, and then they pitched The Little Mermaid, and Michael Eisner rejected the pitch because there was going to be a Star Trek movie, which didn't end up getting made, with a Treasure Island angle to it, and he thought that was too close. And so then basically they kept pitching it every single time they would make a movie.
persistence.
Yeah, like for real. They were like, before Aladdin, we want to make the Treasure Island in space, and then before before Hercules, and they basically kind of made a deal that said, we will make Hercules for you if you let us make our space movie. And they were like, fine, you you can do it. And so that's how it ended up getting greenlit. And it's interesting because if they had made, I mean, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine if they had started out the Disney Renaissance with space
With
pirates?
Treasure Planet.
Like, what?
Yeah, I don't think it would have flown.
Probably one of Michael Eisner's better moves. He's not a man known for great moves, but
Right, but this was a good one.
this was a good one.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I wish I could find a quote or something about why they were so in love with this idea. Uh, I know they were just very excited, and of course, then they would go on after Treasure Planet to do Princess and the Frog, and then also Moana. So they are just incredible. But yeah, I don't know. I They just really liked this idea. It was very interesting. They never gave up on it.
Yeah,
Maybe it's kind of like the whole Terrence Malick thing with the Tree of Life. He tried so desperately hard
Yeah.
to get that movie off the ground, and then he finally did, like 20 years after he first came up with the idea.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's interesting. So yeah, well, let's start diving into I mean, it was perfect for when it was made because they were able to use that deep canvas, which combined the 2D and 3D in a way that they would not have been able to, obviously, in 1989.
right.
So that was a blessing.
Yeah, and so much CGI that gets used in there that I
Hmm.
think is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
which I know we'll get to, but like with Long John Silver's character
Hmm.
design, I think
Yeah.
much of it I think is very very effective. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, the world building is probably, even though it's confusing, the world building as far as aesthetics is probably the strongest point of the film. It's beautiful. Well, let's talk about it. That it starts off with Jim getting arrested. That he's one of the dead enders, the losers. And we have this weird mixture of old clothing, like from the 19th century, and space. So, how do you feel about that, Ryan? That
Um,
there's like this mixture of, I mean, it's kind of trying to be steampunk, I think, is the idea.
Yeah, and I think movies have done this idea before. I mean, for some reason, Castle in the Sky is jumping to my mind of like mixing old
Oh
timey
yeah.
stuff with like steampunk aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly love I this whole opening is just excellent. From the opening of that intro with the Walt Disney, where it's like the dark background and it's the passing light, and then it's the light of the star going over the castle. I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But but then it goes into the storybook of and Jim reading about the legend of Treasure Planet, and then is and that whole thing is just great. And then the whole I want to say sky sailor scene
Yeah.
where he's like on the thing and he's like flying through the canyons and all. Oh, that's just right in my soul. And the score is just excellent as well with his whole woohoo at the end of it, and then he levels out, and then the cops show up, and it's like we've had this elation, now it's just this degradation. And then we cut to the inn with the old clothes and stuff. I guess to tangent aside, I do like the aesthetic they went with because I think it's an homage to the source material while placing it in a much different world. I get why, Rachel, you wouldn't be so crazy about it, but I dig it. I really do.
Stanford, what do you think about them building up Jim's character? Do you think they do a good job with that in these opening scenes?
Well, I do. I mean, I think it's a classic Disney thing to show the character as a child, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but just as Ryan was saying, I love that opening sequence. I think that book is pretty magical. That
Mm-hmm.
that that he's reading, and it's cute to see the relationship that he has with his mother. Uh, and yeah, I think when they fast forward it, uh, I like how they do that. Again, it just I was just reminding or remembering seeing that opening scene or that when he's sky surfing or whatever we call that contraption, um, an IMAX. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
breathtaking. The way that that's put together, and I think it's really interesting too. And then we see how he goes from the cute little boy to the rebellious, not necessarily rebellious, but just kind of confused teenager, and
Mm-hmm.
and how that's strained with his mother. So I think it's really effective, and they do it in pretty quickly.
Yeah,
But
and they also have his father left. It's not a death
yeah, which we
situation, which
find
is
out later, and that's pretty
yeah,
devastating. I think.
very unusual for
Yeah,
Disney. That's not
yeah,
typical.
right.
Yeah. And this is the third version that Disney has done of Treasure Island. There's the classic live action film.
1950. Yeah,
Yeah. And then
I'm
there's,
rewatching that this week just
oh,
because
really?
this kind of inspired me, to to rewatch that.
And then there's the Muppets Treasure Island. And I love the Muppets Treasure Island. That one is my favorite. I think Tim Curry is so funny in that. He's great. And, of course, Kermit is the captain. And I really like the Muppets when they're adapting stories. I love the Christmas Carol, and I
Yeah,
really
the
like Treasure
Christmas
Island.
Carol. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that 1951.
it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Why Seriously Jam? I'm watching this week. It's my movie of the week.
Yeah, nice. So it's a good one. Do you like that version?
I remember liking it. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I remember thinking it was quite good, and really this animated adaptation or kind of combination movie, whatever you want to call it, I think is pretty. And I've also read the book too. It just seems like it's pretty. Stays close to the source material, even though they put it in this different setting. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
I
close.
think I knew this is going to sound ridiculous, but I think I knew Treasure Island almost best because out east there's Long John Silver's
Oh yeah,
tea, which
that's
is
right.
delicious.
Fish and
Do
chips,
they
right?
have
Isn't
those? Yeah, do they have those in Florida?
Yes, they do, and
Yeah.
it's actually about 10 minutes away from where I work.
Oh,
And
it?
nice.
Okay, nice.
and when I was younger, and I would see the restaurant, I would be like, "Oh, he actually opened a restaurant. Good for him." But I, I didn't know. I didn't know.
That's so great.
So they find that he finds the map, and it's in a sphere, and I think they do some really beautiful lighting and effects and everything's with that whole sphere and the map, and they do a good job, I think, in this movie of creating like a sense of awe and wonder, making things seem uh, trying to take your kind of breath away. Beautiful. And then they create the city. I like how there's that whole city that's sort of on the
Crescent moon
crescent
kind of
moon. Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Montresor Spaceport. God,
Yes.
I love that place. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's
It's
Oh, it's
really
filled
so
with
pretty.
wonderful.
it's filled with so many like colorful characters, and you don't even know half of these things, and yet I still remember them like it was yesterday. I remember there are these two robots, and one of them was like on a ladder, and one of them was holding it, and one of the
Hmm.
robots was like, "Second on your right," and the guy was like, "You can't miss it." And like,
And those two characters. That's a quote unquote cameo from Ron and John.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So would
it
what?
is. Yeah, I heard them talk about this at some Disney event sometime in the past, and they said, yeah, look for that ladder scene on Montresor Spaceport.
Oh,
That's John's on top of the ladder and Ron's the one
oh,
holding it.
did you go to that screening thing, the D23 event with
I
Ron and
did.
John?
Yeah,
Oh man, that's so cool.
yeah.
Did they say why they wanted to make this movie so bad?
No, I don't remember them saying that. I just don't remember them. I think it was just, I think they just, if I'm not mistaken, they just love the idea of sailing ships in space. Tall ships in space. And
So
I could be
random.
wrong. There might have been more, but that's all I came. That's all that was left in my brain.
Oh, that's funny. uh, so we get the crew, and it's always in Treasure Island. It's always a bunch of ne'er do wells
the
that are hired.
RMS Legacy.
Yes, and
That's right, Robert Louis Stevenson.
And you have the captain, who is voiced by Emma Thompson. She's a cat. And then you have Dobler. I'm gonna. Excuse me. Uh,
Which I actually learned today that was David Hyde Pierce from Frasier.
Yes.
And that's such like I've only seen a handful of Frasier episodes, but what I've seen of Niles, that's like a perfect role for David Hyde
Oh,
Pierce. Like just
yeah.
absolutely.
the very doting, like super neurotic like person. There's this one scene with him where it's so funny and it's like burned into my mind forever. There's a member of the crew who speaks in flatulence. I'm not making this up, but
Yep.
Yes. I was
this
Yep.
gonna
crew
say we'll
member
get to him.
who speaks in flatulence, and I guess Jim steps on one of his toes, and the crew member's like, and like he's very mad, and so Dr. Doppler's like, let me handle this, and so he goes to him, he's like, and then the guy laughs, and then they walk away, and the doctor's like, I know fluent flatulence, Jim. I studied it in university. It's such an amazing scene. I don't
It's a
need to
pretty
get
good gag. Yeah.
don't need to don't
For
need
a
to get
fart
us off
joke, it's
track,
pretty
but
good.
my dad made it a point that if I didn't bring it up, then he would let me know about it.
Well, yes. So he is Doppler, and then he's also, of course, in Bug's Life. He is very funny in Bug's Life as the what are those kind of bugs called? The stick bugs.
He's the stick bug,
Yeah,
right?
Stick bug.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the actor, the trained actor, uh, and yeah, he's great. He's also voices Sideshow Bob's brother in in The Simpsons, and of course Sideshow Bob is voiced by Kelsey Grammer. So you got like a this is their brothers on Frasier. It's perfect in The Simpsons. So yeah, he's great, and then you also have you've got your first mate, Mr. Arrow, and you've got the farting pirate, and you have Brian Murray as Long John Silver, and it actually takes them a while to get to introducing Long John. It's at the 21-minute mark, which I think is kind of interesting because he is such
He's such a
an important
main, yeah, important
character.
character. Yeah.
But that Long John basically kind of becomes a father figure to Jim. And there's a whole scene where Jim is clearing off the barnacles on the ship. And I'm like,
Put your back into it.
but I'm like, well, barnacles from what? They're in the
Barnacles from
sky.
space.
They're in
Barnacles from outer space.
There's Have you seen the Suicide Squad, Rachel? We don't know what's in space.
There's no barnacles in space.
Starfishes, barnacles, entire whales, sharks. Oh God forbid!
Right,
Great
all those
sharks.
funky creatures floating around.
Fish in the water, not in the sky.
Not in outer space.
Uh,
Uh,
but nevertheless, they do. They have them on the ship, and he has to clean them off. And they had I guess, a rule in this movie of they were going to do 70% traditional, 30% CG animation. So that I think is interesting. 70-30 law. And we also get the Johnny Resnick song "I'm Still Here."
God, I love this song to death.
I do too.
I
I
still
love it.
listen to it. It's
Yeah,
like I still listen to it in the car, and like well, not full throat recently, but full throat. I would sing this thing, and people will look at me like I'm a goof, but I don't care.
yeah. I do think that it dates it slightly, as opposed to like the more sort of Broadway sound, the more uh like you have in Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin or something like that. where that it just feels like a little bit more timeless. That when you like this feels 2002 very much. I like it because, but that's the only thing I would be like. The more like less rock and roll, more traditional. I think it's just a little more timeless. But it's a good song. I like it too. I wish we got more songs, but that's usually my. I always thought. I mean, we watched with Raya. At least we got one song in this. Raya, we got 0 songs.
Zero.
No songs, just strictly business.
That's right.
I think more songs. Then we also have the spider pirate, and I think
Billy Bones, right? Isn't
No,
that
no,
Billy
no, no,
yeah,
no,
Bones?
no.
I,
Billy Bones was the guy that died on the ship in the beginning.
Right. The
He
guy
had
that died.
he had the map originally. No, the Spider Pirate is Mr. Scroop, and
Oh,
folks,
he
thank
is
you,
so
Mister.
scary. I
He's
this
think
creepy.
this thing gave me nightmares. I don't
yeah,
Oh,
know.
for sure.
I don't know if we'll get to it, but there's a scene where Jim is trying to get the map off the ship, and he's trying to be super discreet. And this is when Ben is with him, and we'll get to Ben in a second, I assume. And so
yeah,
Ben is a klutz, and so he makes all the noise. And then Jim is like, he's got the map, he hears the noise, he turns around, and he's like, that stupid robot's gonna get us all. And then he turns the corner, and he's like, killed. And there's Mr. Scroop, and he goes, cabin boy. I'm like,
yeah. He's scary. He
He's
really
so
is.
creepy.
Yeah.
no, I didn't need to sleep tonight. So yeah, this thing is not only scary but just horrible too. I don't know if we want to talk about
Yeah.
a certain death or we're getting there with the black hole, but yeah, not only is he scary, but he backs it up too, and
Oh
just
yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah. So I did find a quote where said that the idea behind setting the film in outer space was to make the story as exciting for kids now as the book was for us then. So, do you think, I mean, Ryan, evidently they achieved it in your opinion. They made it exciting for you as a kid?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like even nowadays, like just watching the black hole scene, which I'm sure we will be getting to,
Mhm.
it's like I'm not afraid of heights. Like I've been to the top of the Empire State Building, I've been to the top floor of Sears or well Willis Tower now in Chicago. So I've been in some high places, but every time I see that black hole, I'm just like, oh oh boy, I hope I don't
Yeah.
fall. And so I think the space elements really did add like an extra X factor that I
Mhm.
really liked.
So, we have this whole scene where Mr. Arrow is lost at sea. His lifeline was not secured. They blame Jim for it. But then Jim overhears Long John Silver's and his plan. And I guess we should say, like, one of the things I like is the design of Long John Silver's as the cyborg. I think is really creative and cool. And I like Brian Murray's the voice as well. I think he does a really good job.
Yeah, there's a great scene in the beginning where it's like Jim and Long John are trying to figure each other out, and Jim's like, I met this one pirate. He said he might have known someone like you, and he's like, oh, who's that? And Jim's like, Bones, Billy Bones, like Bones, Bones.
Hmm.
Oh no, I can't say that I have. So they have really good chemistry together, and then later on, there's the scene after the Lifeline whole debacle where Jim is just in the pits and Long John is just he has like
Hmm.
the line of the entire movie, like you've got the makings of greatness in you in a terrible accent. I'm sorry, folks, but it's still a really effective line.
Yeah, you really feel for Jim because he's already lost his father. And so now he is going to have to lose another father figure that he's grown to care for with Long John. And it's rough, it's tough. And I think they do that very well. We also have Morph. What do you think, Stanford, of Morph as a character? Do you
I
think
have
that's
mixed
cute?
feelings about Morph because I think trying to think he's cute, and other times I think, wow, this character's annoying. The but I guess they use him to his full advantage as far as for comedic effect, and then also
Hmm.
I think where I get really annoyed with him is that how when he steals the map,
Right.
because I know he's just trying to be playful, or whatever, and that they needed a plot device,
Yeah.
but still like um, but also I guess again clever a clever thing for this whole kind of
Hmm.
space
It
environment.
does feel like they were trying to recreate a Boo a little bit with
Yes,
this, definitely.
I'll take a
But
boo over Morph
yeah,
any day.
I I agree.
Or Flounder too.
Yes. Yeah. There's like a little bit of a, a fighting going on, and then Long John Silver tells them to hold the fire, that will lose the map, and then their ship crashes on the land, and then they find out that the map is actually Morph, like you're saying, and they have to go back. But that's when they find Ben, and uh, is at the 40-minute mark is when they find Ben. And I have to say, I'm not as annoyed by Ben as everyone else is. I think he's fine. Like, he's not in the movie very much. I don't know. He's barely there, but other people really hate him. I have a feeling, Stanford, you're not a fan of Ben.
Well, it's mixed. Like I mean, I can see why you think that because that's what I mean. Very
I
like
don't
me,
I
but
don't love him. He's not like my
yeah,
favorite, but I don't know, people really dislike this character.
I think for me, and maybe Ron and John talked about this too when I heard them, talk about this film that they, uh, this was a vehicle for Martin Short as far as Ben,
Yeah.
having for the character Ben, and I think Martin Short is very funny. It's hard for me to really determine why his shtick doesn't really work that well in the context of this film, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so I think I enjoyed it a little bit more. I really particularly like how his eyes are animated. I think that's really cool.
Mhm.
It's kind of uh, you know
Yeah, especially
combination of
once
old
they
school.
put the when they give him back his brain.
Oh, when he gets his brain back, yeah.
Yeah.
But the but yeah, I mixed feelings about Ben because again, love Martin Short, but
Mhm.
it's almost like it's too much. I want the plot to keep moving rather than to have kind of this
Because
again,
I've
just
heard
this.
him described as the Jar Jar Binks of Disney, and I think that's way too
That's
far.
that's
Like,
too harsh.
Harsh.
That's way
Harsh.
too harsh.
I take Ben over Jar Jar any day.
Oh,
Yeah,
ditto.
because my metric, and I'll cover Morph in this as
Yeah.
well. My my gauge for characters like this is if they're useful or not. See, Morph is actually useful. Like it stands up for itself on more than one occasion, even though it's just like a flying wad of shoot up bubblegum. Like he actually helps on occasion. And same with Ben. Like and to your point, Stanford, I think if this were literally any other voice actor other than Martin Short, I would probably hate it. But Martin Short is so funny that that at a certain point I'm just like, okay, he's growing on me. I like him.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We're more high. We're higher on Ben than other people, so that's good. Let us know if you're listening what you think of Ben and Morph. And so then they fall into there's like a booby trap that is set uh near they find the treasure, and then there's a booby trap set in the treasure. And this is also does feel very similar to the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin, this whole sequence, I think. And Long John Silver says, "I loved you, lad, but I'm not going to let you stand between me and my treasure." and so yeah, that's and then you see Jim, he's hanging on barely. He's not going to make it, and so then Long John decides to go and actually help him. And he says, "It's a lifelong obsession, Jim. I'll get over it." I don't know. What do you think of this whole sequence with the treasure? What do you think, Ryan?
I I love the actual planet itself. I love the build up because I love how they get to just a canyon and then the map is like just it's not working and then Jim like sees a hole. He throws the map down in the hole and it's like it this big door that just opens and closes and then they finally get to the planet and wow, this they went above and beyond to make this thing look absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the reveal of Ben when he finally gets his brain back and he is like, I can't believe it, da, 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 da. Booby trap, and then it's like, what? And then everything just goes completely south.
Yeah, yeah. Everything just starts melting, and yeah, it's a lifelong obsession, Jim. I'll get over it. I like that line. I think that's good. And you get to see some humanity back from Long John. And and you find out that basically the map is also a key, and it'll take them to different portals that they can go to. And so when they think they're going to be sucked up into the booby trap, he's able to make it with his homemade uh, surfboard thing. uh, and that he gets it to spark against the wall, and he's able to get to the portal in time. And so that's a pretty fun little action scene, I would say. And uh, then they get back, but he finds Long John is trying to sneak away. And what do you think of that whole scene between the two of them, Stanford?
Well, I really like the relationship between, uh, Long John, Silver, and Jim. In that it's complicated. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Jim needs a father figure, and he finds one in kind of this pirate, and John says, I think it shows that John Silver has a heart, but it's not. It's done in, I think, in quite a nuanced way. So I liked how they ended up parting ways because it. I'm glad that neither of them died. They didn't kill one of them off, and you know, uh, again, just I thought handled quite well. It worked for me. How did the both of you feel about it?
Yeah, I like it. I think that it's an emotional moment and one of the better emotional moments of the whole film. I like it, and he lets him because what really would be the point of having him be in prison? I mean, because he's not really like hurting anybody. I mean, I guess there. It's not like he's the spider guy who's actually like killing people.
Right,
Yeah,
this group.
hmm What do you think, Ryan?
yeah, I love this conclusion. I love the conclusion, and then the whole ending with Jim coming back home, and it's a celebration, and he's in like in his like I guess dress whites in this case.
hmm
Like he's looking really spiffy, and and it's just it's a whole celebration, and then the movie ends with "Always Know Where You Are" by BB Mac, which is another song that I love from this movie. So it's about as good a conclusion as I could ask for from a movie like this.
Yeah,
I love how the inn gets rebuilt.
yeah.
Yeah, then that. Uh,
Because
so it's
John,
a happy ending.
because Long John gives the his Jim's mom the some of the jewels that he got from the thing, and so it's cute. And he says, "You're gonna rattle the stars, you are." So that was very sweet. And then you also see that that Ben is working in the inn, and Dobler and the captain now have little cat and
Have
dog
little cat and
kids.
dog babies. Go, explain that one.
It's
I
kind of like in a Muppet Christmas Carol when Kermit
don't read
and
too much into it.
Kermit and Piggy have girl pigs and frog boys. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, when I did my last ranking, which was way back in 2017, I had Treasure Planet at 44, and I had The Three Caballeros at 45, and I had Hunchback of Notre Dame at 43. So I don't know if I'd have it that low this time, but who knows? I'm going to do another ranking once we're finished. So that'll be interesting. What did you have? Where did you have it, Stanford?
I have it at 40.
So pretty
Atlantis is
close.
39, and Aristocats is 41. So
Yeah,
it's one of those. Again, there's so much I like about this film, but it's just, but yeah, not top tier for me.
well, that's interesting because I was going to ask you what you preferred, Atlantis or this. So you
I
have,
prefer Atlantis just a little bit more. Yeah,
yeah,
but they're both like kind of fine. They're again very similar to me, and I mean, I love the concept of Disney animation sci-fi. I wish that there could be uh, another attempt.
yeah. Let's
But
see, where did I put Atlantis? I have actually Atlantis at 27, so I was very generous the last time to Atlantis.
all right.
So, yeah, I don't think I would have it quite that high this time, but rankings are weird because you like different things for different reasons, and
Absolutely.
but yeah, would it be your number one of all Disney animated films? Is it Ryan?
I don't think it'd be number one, but it's really close. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe
Top
it's
Cool.
five.
at the very least. I've never
Yeah.
never made like a formal Disney ranking. I will one day, but I just
Mm-hmm.
I just love this movie. It's been in my life for as long as I've been alive. I think
Yeah,
about it a great deal, and maybe it's the rose tinted glasses, but I'm just really glad that at least nowadays more people are getting eyeballs on it, and now with Disney
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I think now's as good an opportunity as any.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it.
I get
I
it too.
Yeah.
As Rachel knows, I'm the king of sentimentality on some of these decisions. I get it.
Yeah.
So I support it.
Very good. Okay, so we have some responses from our Twitter followers. We have Josh Trumbull. He says, I saw it once, like 8 or 9 years ago, and I thought it was good, but I don't have much attachment to it because we didn't rent it when it came out on home video. I was in high school when it came out, and I saw it in my mid 20s. Matthew Decline, he says, a twist on a classic story done right. The animation is great, the soundtrack is phenomenal, and the characters are well done, especially the relation between Jim and Silver. Also, how could you not nearly happy cry at certain moments near the end? Richard Southworth, he says, some very good ideas with mixed delivery. It goes downhill after the arrival at the planet. I liked the animation and the relationship between Jim and Silver. Average overall. Jacob Martin says one of the most criminally underrated Disney films of all time. Love the blend of 2D and 3D animation. Love the sci fi spin on the Treasure Island story. The score is epic, and I especially love the bond between Jim and Silver in this version. A couple more. Walt Reed, he says, a movie with very high ambitions, is beautifully designed and conceptualized, but also feels incredibly disjointed, mixing both a classic story into a modern setting. Those who call it terrible and those who say it's one of the best unheralded movies both may be over exaggerating. Cece Takato says, it's not my favorite Disney movie, but I really liked the animation and the sci fi twist on Treasure Planet. And I think it's a solid sci fi adventure story. And I wish Disney would make more animated sci fi. So there we go. Well, our next movie, the random number generator has determined we are finally going to be talking about Lilo and Stitch. Finally, it's our last post Renaissance film to talk about. And then after that we'll have Peter Pan and Robin Hood and then Encanto coming up. But those are the that's it. And then we'll be done. Crazy.
Winding down, Rachel. Hard to believe.
So we're excited to be talking about Lilo and Stitch. That's one that grew on me. At first I didn't like it, and now I really enjoy it. So
I'm excited
anyway,
to rewatch it too.
mhm,
It's been a while since I've seen it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So very good. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on and
Thank you,
talking with
Ryan.
us. This
Hey,
was great.
this was awesome. I hope I can be brought back on someday because
Yeah,
I can do this all day. In the words of Steve Rogers.
there we go. Uh, so, how can people find you and your content?
So they can find me on social media at RyanCam20. Then there is, of course, my YouTube channel, like I mentioned in the beginning, which is just called Ryan Cam.
So yes, make sure you check all that out, and you check out Hidden Gems coming up. We have a lot of fun over there on Twitter. We have a lot of fun over there, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. And Stanford, where can people find you?
I have a movie podcast and blog that can be found at moviespastandpresent.com. And I have an Instagram, at movies PAP, which stands for past and present. And then on Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark.
Great. Yes. And that'll all be in the description. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check all of that out. And then also make sure that you are following the Hallmarkies podcast. We have lots of fun over there. If you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And also check out the merch store where we have hashtag animation junkie shirts, which are a lot of fun and help us out. And then also we have our Patreon group, which is a lot of fun. So take a look at that. And that is only $2 a month, and it really helps us out a lot. So thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Ryan. And we'll talk next month, Lilo and Stitch. Bye, everyone.
Hey, bye. Thanks.